What began as another record-breaking multi-million-dollar spectacle for global juggernauts BTS abruptly transformed into the most devastating, controversial and unfiltered public breakdown in the history of the Korean music industry. Tens of thousands of screaming fans were plunged into dead silence as the glittering facade of idol perfection was violently torn away, replaced by raw, uncontrollable grief. The world watched in absolute shock as the stadium lights dimmed, the heavily choreographed routines ceased, and a deeply guarded secret was violently thrust into the spotlight, leaving millions asking, how far can these young men be pushed before they simply break? What really happened backstage minutes before the spotlight hit the stage, leaving Taehyung physically unable to hold back his agonizing tears? Industry insiders and fans alike are reeling from the unprecedented scenes that unfolded, sparking a massive global debate about the relentless, unforgiving machinery of the K-pop industry. As the hauntingly quiet chords of an unplanned melody echoed through the colossal venue, Taehyung, known to the world as the effortlessly cool V, collapsed into a state of public mourning so visceral and heartbreaking that it sent shockwaves through social media algorithms worldwide. This was not the standard polite crying scene at award shows. This was a desperate, chest-heaving display of pure agony that has ignited furious conspiracy theories and deeply emotional debates about the true mental state of the world's most famous performers. Are we witnessing the final emotionally exhausted days of BTS, as we know them, or is this agonizing tribute the controversial rebirth of the global icons? The catalyst for this unprecedented meltdown was a moment of profound, tragic beauty orchestrated by Jungkook and Yoon Hoseok, the sunshine of the group known as J-Hope. In a move that absolutely nobody saw coming, and one that reportedly defied the strict, sanitized run of show dictated by their massive management company, the duo paused the multi-million-dollar production to deliver a soul-crushing tribute to J-Hope's recently deceased grandmother. The revelation that J-Hope had been forced or perhaps had chosen to perform high-energy dance routines while secretly carrying the weight of a monumental family death has sparked a wildfire of controversy, pitting fiercely protective fans against the multi-billion-dollar entertainment corporation that manages their every breathing moment. The atmosphere in the stadium before the incident was electric, fueled by the relentless energy that only a BTS concert can generate. Fans, known as ARMY, had camped out for days, spending thousands of dollars to witness the meticulously crafted perfection that the group is famous for delivering. Pyrotechnics exploded, intricate laser arrays painted the night sky, and the deafening roar of the crowd was a physical force. But as the concert transitioned into what was supposed to be a standard acoustic set, the energy fundamentally shifted. The massive LED screens, usually broadcasting highly stylized, heavily filtered close-ups of the members winking and smiling, suddenly went stark black. A single, cold spotlight pierced the darkness, illuminating only J-Hope and Jungkook. The stark contrast between the hyper-commercialized pop spectacle and the sudden, chilling intimacy of the moment left the audience utterly bewildered. Was this a technical malfunction? Was this a surprise announcement? The truth was far more devastating than anyone could have possibly imagined. J-Hope, a man whose entire public persona is built upon being a pillar of relentless optimism, dazzling smiles, and impeccable professionalism, stood frozen beneath the harsh light. His usually vibrant posture was slumped, his face cast in shadows. Beside him stood Jungkook, the group's youngest member, clutching a microphone with white-knuckled intensity. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity, an agonizing pause that had fans holding their breath in terrified anticipation. When Jungkook finally raised the microphone to his lips, his voice, normally a powerhouse of flawless control, cracked with devastating vulnerability. He did not sing. Instead he spoke, his words trembling through the stadium's massive sound system, echoing into the night sky and instantly breaking the hearts of millions. He announced, with a heavy, grief-stricken tone, that the world was entirely unaware of the tragedy that had struck their brother. He revealed that just hours before taking the stage, J-Hope had received the catastrophic news that the woman who had helped raise him, his beloved grandmother, had passed away. The collective gasp that erupted from the tens of thousands of fans was a sound of pure, unadulterated shock. The realization hit the crowd with the force of a physical blow. J-Hope had been smiling. He had been executing grueling, perfectly synchronized choreography. He had been shouting messages of love and hope to the audience, all while his heart was shattering inside his chest. The controversy instantly ignited in the minds of the audience, and the millions streaming the event online. How could HYBE, their colossal management agency, allow this? Why was a grieving grandson forced onto a stage under blinding lights instead of being allowed to mourn with his family? The unspoken, deeply controversial reality of the idol industry, where the show must always go on regardless of human suffering, was suddenly laid bare for the entire world to judge. As Jungkook's heartbreaking words hung in the air, J-Hope finally broke. The man who had spent a decade being the group's emotional anchor completely shattered. He fell to his knees right there on the stage, the microphone slipping from his grasp, the thud echoing sickeningly through the speakers. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking with violent, uncontrollable sobs. This was not a performance. This was the raw, bleeding reality of a human being pushed beyond the limits of emotional endurance. Jungkook, tears streaming down his own face, immediately dropped to the floor beside him, wrapping his arms around his older brother in a desperate attempt to shield him from the relentless gaze of the cameras. But it was too late. The image of the broken idol was already being beamed to every corner of the globe. But the true shock, the moment that elevated this tragedy from a heartbreaking family loss to a profound, mysterious group breakdown, occurred when the cameras desperately panned away from the two men on the floor and landed on Kim Taehyung. Known for his stoic, incredibly handsome, and sometimes emotionally guarded demeanor, was standing on the opposite side of the stage. He was not just crying. He was experiencing what appeared to be a complete psychological collapse. His legs gave out beneath him, and he crumpled to the stage floor, gripping his chest as if he were physically suffocating. He wailed, a sound of such profound, agonizing despair that it completely drowned out the murmurs of the crowd. Why was Taehyung reacting with such violent intensity? Theories and rumors exploded across the internet before the concert even concluded. Was Taehyung's breakdown a manifestation of his own hidden traumas? Was it the crushing, accumulated weight of a decade spent living under the microscopic scrutiny of the public eye, finally detonating in a moment of empathetic grief? Insiders have long whispered about the immense, crushing pressure placed upon the members of BTS, the suffocating reality of being the golden geese for an entire national economy. Taehyung's uncontrollable sobbing was seen by many not just as mourning for J-Hope's grandmother, but as a horrifying release of years of suppressed anxiety, exhaustion, and the terrifying isolation of supreme fame. It was a terrifying mirror held up to the dark, relentless underbelly of the K-pop machine, a machine that demands perfection at the cost of basic human frailty. Jungkook, fighting through his own visible devastation, signaled to the band in the shadows. What followed was a moment of musical improvisation that will go down in history as one of the most emotional, heart-wrenching performances ever captured on film. He did not sing one of their massive chart-topping pop anthems. Instead, he began to sing a traditional Korean mourning hymn, a hauntingly beautiful, slow, and devastatingly sad melody that completely shattered the stadium's atmosphere. His voice, thick with tears, soared above the silence, carrying the weight of J-Hope's grief, Taehyung's collapse, and the collective shock of the entire world. It was a raw, unfiltered tribute, a desperate plea for peace for a departed soul, delivered in the middle of a screaming pop concert. The controversy surrounding this event cannot be overstated. Within minutes, social media platforms were completely paralyzed by the sheer volume of traffic. The hashtags Protect J-Hope, Taehyung Deserves Better, and Boycott HYBE dominated global trends. Fierce debates raged across every corner of the internet. Critics and furious fans accused the management company of gross negligence, of treating the members like soulless, disposable commodities, rather than human beings who had just suffered a profound loss. The image of J-Hope being forced to smile and dance while grieving was weaponized by critics of the K-pop industry, held up as the ultimate proof of the system's inherent, inescapable cruelty.